I was diagnosed with Parkinson's in 2019 at 55 years old, but I started showing symptoms about 4 years before that. My first symptom was my handwriting went to shit. Sorry to say it that way, but it's my favorite way to say it. All of a sudden, my handwriting went from this beautiful, loopy, big stuff that you practice in 6th grade to this very tight. And I would start a sentence, and halfway through the sentence, I would have this really tight, cramped handwriting. And I didn't know what the heck was going on. At that time, my mother had already been 15 years into her Parkinson's journey. And everything that was ever wrong with me, I assumed was Parkinson's. So I'd have any twitch or tingle or anything, I was just sure it was Parkinson's. If that sun gets in your eyes, we can move your chair over.
No, I just moved over. I'm fine for the moment.
Okay, good. So of course I Googled his cramped handwriting, which is also known as micrographia. And it's the first thing I took to my doctor and said, what is this all about? And she said, well, let's figure this out. I was diagnosed in 5 minutes by a neurologist who said, that's Sharon's me, and she's sitting here at her computer and saying, yes, you have Parkinson's.
Oh my.
And I didn't even look at me. And I was there by myself because my husband was out of town. And it was just like, what? So it was weird, everybody has their diagnosis story, and some are worse than that. So I was kind of lucky. Luckily, my husband picked me up. I picked him up from the airport like an hour later, so it was good. My mother was diagnosed at age 59. Her brother is still battling it. Her other brother died with it, I believe, although his wife says no. But he walked the same exact way my mom did. And they were like, it was just such weird coincidences. So he never was diagnosed with it, but I believe he had it. And my mom's cousin also had it. And it's been in other generations as well. A lot of people wonder if that's a genetic connection. Only about 15% to 20% of Parkinson's cases are genetic. And I've been tested, and I do not test positive for any of the 7 genes that they know of so far. But it could be genetic, or it could be where we lived. I grew up in Saginaw, Michigan, which is right in the middle of farm country. The mid-Michigan is known for sugar beets, corn, and soybeans, all heavily sprayed products. In fact, a couple of years ago, I was at my mom's house, and there's this main road that goes from her house out into town, and it's called Tittabawassee Road, and it's all surrounded by farmland. One day, I went out there, I was driving Tittabawassee Road into the sun at sunset, and I looked at this beautiful field that had this gorgeous green and yellow soybeans that it was just beautiful. And I was like, so I stopped and took a picture because there was this tractor sowing the field right down the way, and it was a sunset picture. It was just beautiful. I was like, oh, this is Michigan. I stopped and took a picture, and I realized he's spraying something. The next day, that field was brown and dead, and they were harvesting. And so that is paraquat, Roundup, the spray that goes into our food that we really believe causes Parkinson's. Also, when I was 26 years old, I bought my first house in Denver, Colorado. Had a backyard about the size of this one. I loved my little backyard. When I bought it, it was a mess. And I really wanted to have a garden and grass areas and everything. And at the time, I was dating the ortho dealer, ortho rep. He sold Roundup.
Oh dear. Wow.
So I sprayed Roundup on my entire yard, probably without a mask, probably without gloves. The entire yard I just doused in Roundup. And John said, oh yeah, it's no problem. He said, the only time I said, do you ever get complaints about people using this? Is it safe to use? And he said, oh no, it's only some little lady who uses too much and then calls me and says it caused her whatever. I'm like, oh, now I'm that person 40 years later. So it's a crazy thing. I also think that stress caused my PD. I really believe that. The 10 years that my gallery was open, I was absolutely bound and determined to be a success. And it was. And I'm very grateful for that, for the artists who I represented in my gallery. And Dean was one of them. To the people who bought books from me and the gallery for so many years, like Sharon bought the Exquisite Warriors book. So It was a really great experience, but I think it was very stressful and really probably caused a lot of what came to be Parkinson's for me. So the book I mentioned, Exquisite Warriors, which I'll go through in depth as we go, came about because of a call for entries. In the book arts world, we have a lot of exhibitions. 3 or 4 times a year, and somewhere in the country there's a book arts exhibition. If I'm talking too fast and slurring my words, give me a signal.
You're fine.
I tend to do that. Okay. The show was called Unseen. There's always a theme with these book art shows, and book artists will make work to go along with the theme of the show. And mine was Unseen. And when I thought about Unseen, I thought about my mother. And I thought about the isolation that she has as an advanced Parkinson's patient, how she was hidden, she was homebound, she had a lot of shame for this disease and a lot of fear of this disease. She didn't want to be seen out in public. She thought that people would laugh at her. And I felt like there's a whole world of unseen people with Parkinson's disease. And that's why that was the inspiration from this book. Do you remember when you were a child, the Exquisite Corpse books, where you flipped the top part of the page and there was the head of the animal, and the bottom part of the page was the belly of the animal, and the bottom was the feet. You could kind of switch the animal back and forth to create all these wacky animal creatures. Well, that's what what came next. I was like, oh, I got to make a book with that structure. And what came next was a list of the ABCs of Parkinson's disease that I saw on Facebook. It was posted by a gal named Cher, who's also in the book. And it was just like this, all of it came together. So I'm going to show you the book, and I'm going to see if I can hold it up and
Here, I'll do it. Give me the book. I'll do it.
okay, great. If you can,
This one's cute.
let's see.
Where do you want me to go? Anywhere's the good.
Yeah, let's. So the first part of the book is there is this my story and what the book is about, and you'll read that and fall asleep. And now I'm going to tell you about some of the artists that are in the book. So what I did is I told all of the women that I was connected to. So I just kind of I didn't know very many women in Parkinson's then. This is still pretty new to me. I was only a couple years into this process. But any woman I did meet who had Parkinson's, or I saw on a Zoom call or anywhere, I would just send them an email and said, would you be in this book? And I said, send me a photograph, and send me a photograph of you with your best power pose. And that's specifically what I wanted, and this was the first photo to come in. This is Mai Evers, who lives in Germany, and she's was a professional dancer, and her greatest disappointment about Parkinson's is that she no longer can dance. And you can just see the anguish in her face in this photograph. It's remarkable. Mai is also an artist, and she is embroidering faces of Parkinson's patients. I hate using that word. We're not patients. All of us,
Parkinson's
none
people.
of us here. Parkinson's women. Parkies. I don't like that either. I don't know what to call it. Anyway, so she's embroidering our faces, and making them into a quilt. That was supposed to be debuting Barcelona, but I don't think she got done in time. But she's remarkable.
And she's also writing now. She's interviewing people. She interviewed me in Barcelona.
Oh,
She
cool.
came up to me. She says, "Hi, I'm May. I want to interview you." Okay.
I love that.
So
So the book starts out at the very top of each page that you flip is an abecedarian of Parkinson's symptoms. So each page has 3 symptoms, or 4, for each letter of the alphabet, and yes, there really are that many symptoms. The list that Cher posted on Facebook was kind of astounding, all the different symptoms, and that's my abecedarian of Parkinson's symptoms. The middle section of the book is my story in narrative form. It's kind of boring. So the bottom part of the book is a quotation from each of the women shown in the book, and this is May's quotation. And I asked them at the time what was their biggest fear about Parkinson's disease, and I wish I had not asked that question now. When I started making this book, being so new into Parkinson's, I I want to say it was my first year. I was in a very dark place for the first year, and I know a lot of people are in the first year. I was literally like, would drive down the street, pull over and cry for no reason. And it wasn't until a year that I came out of the dark spot. So this book, I think, with the fear component, quotation, I think started out as a very dark book. And I almost wish I had met all these women first, because through meeting all these women, my fear turned to hope. And that's the power of art and the power of connections and why we need each other so much. And I think that if I had met all of you sooner, it would have been a very different book, but still the same structure.
Okay, so, no.
So I'm
just
going to tell
having
you a
fun
little
with it.
story about each woman as we go.
Okay.
So if you can flip each page one at a time.
One at a time.
Yeah.
Oh, that's no fun.
Yeah, all the women had such remarkable stories. It's
I
really
know.
fantastic. And it won't take long, because I don't know, we got more munchies to have. This is Anna Mona. She is in Oslo. Yes, Oslo, Norway. And she's young. She was diagnosed at 34. And her biggest disappointment was that she had just found her dream job. She's the executive assistant to a hotel developer, and she said, I'm just a proud career girl. And she said, I just got my dream job, and I'm really heartbroken by that, but she's really happy. Her boss is very supportive. And she was really excited about her power pose, and hired a professional photographer to have her power pose shot, and
Wow.
she loves that photograph, so she's great. Okay.
Next
Next up, we have Omatola Thomas, who lives in London currently. She's originally from Nigeria. She has started an organization called Parkinson's Africa, and she is raising money to raise awareness of Parkinson's in Africa. People who have Parkinson's in Africa are shamed, and they are disowned by their families, and they are left to fend for themselves. They have no medication, they have no doctors, they have no support. I hear horrible stories about people leaving a grandmother behind, and she's eating dust off the drywall off the walls because she has no food. I mean, it's just, the stories out of Africa are horrible.
She's a force.
Yeah, she is.
She's a force.
She is. She's really amazing, and she's gonna change the world for Parkinson's patients. She's really that amazing. This is Kat Hill, who is one of the founders of Women's Parkinson's Project, and she was a midwife in Portland, and she was the head of the midwifery department at Legacy Emmanuel Hospital, a huge hospital, which I didn't even know hospitals had midwife departments. So she was a force and an amazing woman. She was forced to stop working because they were afraid her tremoring hand would cause a lawsuit if she was stitching up a woman, which I think is just sad. It's like,
Yeah.
oh, there could have been better ways. So she's recently sold her house in Portland, bought an Airstream trailer, retired early, and her and her husband are traveling the country in their Airstream and have evolved.
I think she delivered over 400 babies.
Some
like that.
astounding
Crazy.
number like that.
It's
Great.
astounding, yeah.
Yeah.
Okay,
This
next
is Shivani. Shivani lives in Toronto. Who's here from Toronto? Somebody was. Oh yes, yep. Shivani is she's the second photo to show up in the book, and when I saw this sari, I was just like, oh my God, this book is going to be great. First we had the great dancer, and then we had Shivani with her sari, and it was just thrilling. They're here!
They're here.
Yay! Deborah Doxey, we haven't gotten to your page yet, so you're in luck. And this is Deborah's husband, and you have your son coming also?
No, you didn't feel well. That was one.
Okay. So we're really excited that you're here. Come on up, and we can move the chairs into a shadier place if there's sun in your eyes.
Okay.
Get over this
Welcome. We're glad you're here. We haven't been going for long, so you haven't missed much.
We're only on E.
Oh yeah, thank you.
Okay. Where are you sitting? I want another cup.
There's one here.
Great. Thank you, Joel. Awesome.
Is the microphone working?
Yes. Thank you. So we left off to Shivani. Shivani has an offering to a god here, and it was an offering that she told me what it was, and I can't remember off the top of my head. But I just fell in love with her. She has very young children, like 3 and 4 years old, and she was young onset Parkinson's disease as well. And with great timing, here's Deborah Doxey.
No,
No?
No.
Yeah? Oh,
no, next one, I guess.
okay. Deborah's the next one then.
Oh, we got the wrong feet there.
Yep. Next, before Deborah, is Ingrid, who is in Germany as well. And Ingrid discovered painting after she was diagnosed with Parkinson's, which is common. A lot of Parkinson's patients, people, find this creative streak after they're diagnosed, and it's kind of remarkable the amount of work that they are obsessed to put out. And I don't know if that's a medication thing, because some of our medications can give us rather obsessive tendencies, or if it's just this creative urge that comes out of.
I think we just have to keep moving.
Yes.
We just gotta go.
Yeah.
Go. And,
Yeah.
you know, and they say apathy is it's the opposite, but so many of us don't show apathy at all. So.
One of the side effects of my meds is I get dry mouth, so that's why I have to keep drinking. So I apologize for that. Okay, next we have Deborah Doxey, and Deborah is a light in the face. And I'm sorry without warning. Can I introduce you, and can you tell us about the symbolism of the objects you photograph?
Sure.
Oh, great. Do you want to come up, or you want me to just talk?
I'll
She's
talk.
holding-
Okay.
A few things here.
Well, actually, the hat I got at a when the African American Museum in downtown Los Angeles, they had some hats that were flat that you could travel with, and my mom used to wear a lot of hats, and so I thought about her, so I got her a purple one, I got a red one. So that was the significance of the hat. And the dress is, I don't, let's see, it's made in Africa, and I believe it's the West Coast, but I don't remember the exact place now, because I haven't seen the young lady that makes those in a while. She's had some eye problems. And let's see, and then Michelle Obama, she's like so my shero, and she's wonderful, and I think so the world of her. And someone reminded me the other day, because I was ready to go low, and they said, remember we have to go up. I go, oh, low. Yes, ma'am, I do, whatever. I was getting ready to go low. and then we had some other art that over the years we've collected from some friends that are artists and things like that.
Okay.
Yeah, because he wanted me to do golf or something. I thought, that's not me. That's my son, you know. So I mean, I would feel like awkward doing golf, because that's not. I like it and I played it, but I mean, that's me, you know, the cultural thing.
Awesome.
Okay.
Well, I love that, Deborah. I mean, you came in just in time, so that's
Perfect
perfect.
timing.
Different, wrong face.
We've got one more.
Did we miss a page?
It's so easy. This book, the slippery
Yeah.
pages.
The
slippery
bottom
pages.
two are right.
Okay.
It's the
There we
top
go.
one
No,
that's
I
off.
think,
It was amazing how those pictures came out, because I
That
There we
one.
go.
That's the one you wanted.
there we go.
Oh yeah.
That's it.
There we go. Okay, so this is a good one. Penny Erickson. She lives in Tucson, Arizona, and during the very early days of COVID, I met her at maybe a Twitchy Woman,
She was she comes to a lot of Twitchy
Yep,
women.
I think that was it.
Has on and off, yeah.
and I noticed there were things said Tucson, Arizona. So I sent her a little private chat message and said, "Oh, you're in Tucson. I'm in Tucson. It's nice to meet you." And she said, "Oh, let's go for a walk in the park." So we walked 6 feet away from each other with double masks on that day during height of COVID. And I said to her, "What do you think caused your Parkinson's?" And she said, "Well, I grew up in farm country, and in my backyard was all these farm fields, and they were sprayed regularly." And she said, "We used to ride our bikes following the mosquito control trucks as they sprayed for mosquitoes in our neighborhood." And I said, "Where did you grow up?" And she said, "Bay City, Michigan." We lived about nine miles away from each other.
Wow.
So that's bizarre. And she's the same age I am. So, and now she lives just down the road in Tucson. And she's a new grandma. So that's pretty great.
That's great.
Yeah. That's
Yeah.
too.
Same story. I rode my bike behind the mosquito trucks too.
Yep. Isn't that crazy?
Yeah.
Great. This is Allison Tofferwine and her daughter. Allison was the first person with Parkinson's disease to participate on American Ninja Warrior
Before Jimmy.
before Jimmy. She didn't win, so she doesn't, and she bailed early, I think in the second challenge, but she was still the first person with Parkinson's to participate, and has since participated since then too. She lives in Texas.
And she was open about the fact that she had Parkinson's.
Yep.
Yeah.
Yep. This is Kim Cornelis. She lives in Portland, Oregon. And this is a funny thing too. This is how small our world is. My husband used to cycle with her husband, and we didn't know each other until they came to Tucson for an event called L Tour de Tucson, which is a big bicycle ride. And before the event, they have this this festival at a park where they have vendors with booze, and Davis Finney Foundation had a booth there. And one day I was just kind of wandering around looking at all the booths, and I was like, oh, Davis Finney's here. And I met Kim. I said, oh, Kim, our husbands are riding together. We met at a barbecue the night before, and I said, why are you here? She said, well, I have Parkinson's. And I said, oh, so do I. So, I mean, we've met each other over the years at various times, but didn't know that we each had Parkinson's. So it's kind of amazing that way. This is Carlotta Lee, who is a force. She's amazing. She is the founder of the Van Open, the Vancouver Open, which is a big international tennis tournament, and she travels the world following tennis still these days. She just had that focused ultrasound surgery treatment recently, and I haven't heard yet how it went, but it sounds good.
Well, she was having stem cells. She was here 2 weeks ago. It was
Yeah.
stem cell treatment.
Yeah.
But she will be here for the Open in the desert. She goes there every year. But she came to Barcelona, and then she went back. She was in London, came to Barcelona, and then went back to London for Wimbledon. And was posting pictures, and we were all very jealous.
Oh, wow. So she's great. Oh, and I love this photo. This is Bonnie Schwartz. Bonnie is, she is a retired chief of park ranger police in
Yellowstone.
Bozeman.
Yellowstone.
Bozeman, one of those. She lives in Bozeman, Yellowstone. She retired from a different place where she worked. But anyway, she's badass, gun-toting chief of police kind of person who tells some crazy stories about what they experience, what kind of crimes go on in national parks. I have no idea. But she is an avid skier. She's 14 years in at this point, now a couple years more and beyond that. Avid cross-country skier, going strong, drives across country by herself with her dog regularly. It's just like nothing holds her back. She's awesome. She's a force. This lady's very boring. We can go past her. I'm a cyclist, and I really, truly, truly, truly believe that cycling has done great for me. I do have problems with balance occasionally, and I know when my Cinemat is running out. When the car is coming next to me, freak me out. I get this little anxiety, and like there's a car right there, and I'll go, oh, they're gonna come too close, they're gonna hit me. And I'm like, oh, time for a pill. So I pull over, I take a pill, and I'm fine. That anxiety comes up when I'm low on Parkinson's. This is my mom. She battled Parkinson's for 20 years and lost her battle in July. And I'm holding it together. She was 4'10".
Oh my gosh.
So she looked tall. She was 4'10".
Oh, my mom's shorter than that.
Isn't that great?
Even.
Yeah. So this is Susan. She lives in Tennessee, and I met Susan. The way weird connections go is there's a guy named Don who's a friend of mine who is a bookbinder, and I've known him for 15, 20 years. And Susan was working with him on a project, and she had just been diagnosed, and she said, "Can I connect?" He said, "Can I connect you to Susan because you could teach her so much." And she's in the book, and now she's doing great as well.
But she doesn't have a last name.
She doesn't. She wanted to be anonymous in the book.
Okay.
She was not out yet at the time.
Okay. She's Susan, Tennessee.
Yep.
Okay.
This is Birgit, who is in Germany, who got married after being diagnosed, met her husband after being diagnosed, which for all of my single friends out there, I love telling them about her because most of my single friends think they will never find a mate. And I know two now. Penny also found a mate after.
Okay.
The next, I love this photograph. This is Sri Sirpathy, and I know I'm saying her name wrong. She is another founder of the Women's Parkinson's Project. They're doing a lot to promote, to make women with Parkinson's more visible, for reasons like we were not allowed to be tested on in clinical trials with drugs until the early 1980s. Yeah. So Cinemet was never tested on women, and now it's our gold standard drug. It's been around for 50 years. So we have no idea how it reacts during menopause, before, during a period for young onset people. We have no idea. Maybe it causes osteoporosis and after menopause. Who knows? But their group is working really hard to spread that word and get women treated properly for their age group,
I'll
especially
tell you why
younger
it
women.
was we weren't treated later. I'll
Okay.
tell you why we were not part of drug trials, but that's a
The
different
writing
story.
on that website is also just beautiful.
Yeah.
Beautiful. It's beautifully edited and beautifully written
On their website?
on their website.
Yeah,
Women's
it
Parkinson's
is.
Project.
Yeah, it's really great.
So this is Denise.
Denise, she's in Toronto. I happened to meet her in Washington, D.C. at that All-In conference that you and I went
Oh.
to. Yeah. I was sitting at a table with her and I said, I know you. You're in my book. So that was fun.
Oh wow.
The next person is Jennifer Sullivan, and she lives in Napa Valley. And Jennifer is a force as well. She's great. She publishes videos on YouTube. She's got a channel on YouTube called The Wiggles Project. And The Wiggles.
Oh.
The Wiggles Project. And she's a former bartender, casino gambler, smoker, and great person, and has done so much for us. And her videos are great. If you look her up on YouTube, you'll love them. She just posted one recently, the other day, that's about, it's stirred up a little bit of
I haven't
controversy.
seen hers for a while. I gotta
Yeah,
have to go
she's
back.
great. This is the one who inspired the ABCDarian part of the book. This is Cher. She lives in Denver. And she actually drove down to Santa Fe for the opening of the exhibition that this book was that inspired this book. So she's terrific.
Okay, and then we can skip this page too.
No!
There
This
she
is a great
is.
picture. And Sri
And
took this
Sri
photograph,
took the
right?
picture. We were at lunch, and I said, "Can you do me a favor and take a picture?" I didn't know she was going to be in the book.
She's
she
a
didn't tell
professional
me,
photographer also.
but she's a photographer. I said, "Take the picture, please." And I happened to have my tennis racket in the car and my computer, and I said, "This is me." So
That's awesome.
I love it.
So, I don't know why you asked me in the first place. What, I
Twitchy
don't
Woman.
even-
It was because
Oh,
I
because of
had
Twitchy Woman.
seen you on Twitchy Woman, yeah.
Okay, so.
And this is Susan, who also
Whoa.
was
Wow.
on Twitchy Woman. And
And she says hello to everybody. She wishes she could be here with us today, but
she's a force as well. Awesome.
Yeah.
She's in Philadelphia, right?
yeah,
Great.
she's from LA. Part of her life from LA. Okay.
This is Nalima. She's in Portland. I never got to meet her before I left Portland. I was referred to her by a woman who runs a Parkinson's gym. And I'm hoping to meet her next time I go back. She was awesome.
Okay, we're almost done.
Yep.
Um,
This is
why?
a woman whose name I can never remember is Anamina or something like that. She's also a friend of my friend of
Mina
Susan's.
Orr from Nashville.
Yep. So. And the last one, some of you may know, is Heather Kennedy.
Oh
Heather,
yeah.
she's great. Heather was a Davis Finney ambassador. She's very outspoken, very brutal
Big.
about Parkinson's.
Mhm.
Big
Big,
personality.
very big.
Big
Very
personality. Little tiny person with a big personality. She's great, and she's a big advocate. Is she now doing the Two Mics podcast? Host. She's really great on camera.
She's
and on
definitely
mic.
doing a
Yeah.
podcast. I can't
Yeah.
remember.
Yeah.
Her video won was one of the winners at the Parkinson's Congress.
Was it their Slim Shady video?
Yeah, the Slim
She
Shady
does a
video.
Slim
if you
Shady
haven't seen-
dance, dancing
It's
to the
great.
M&Ms, but it's all about
But,
Parkinson's.
yeah,
Dancing
she
to
and I
M&M.
were on a program together once, and it was like, do I really have to follow her?
That's true.
No,
She's a
you
big
can't do this to
personality.
me. She's very big. And
Yep. So I'm going to tell you what this book has meant. The first edition of this book, which Sharon has in a box, and I told her not to
it's
bring
right
it out.
there. It's right there.
Oh, I told her not to bring it out and hand it around too much because that edition cost $500 per book, and it was a fundraiser, and we sold 25 copies, and it's a limited edition, first edition book, and it's all handmade, and So 25 copies times $500 is $12,500. So this book, I donated all of the proceeds. So that whole $12,500 went to 3 organizations helping women with Parkinson's. Wow. So what can you do to help? We now have a second edition of this book that is a softcover, affordable edition. It sells for $100, and this time 50% of all the proceeds which is profit, all the profit. It cost me $50 per copy to make these books. So $50 will each be split among the 3 organizations, and I already have a check for you.
Oh.
That I'll forget to write for sure, so somebody please remind me. So I'll pass this around too. And if you have friends who need to know more about Parkinson's, please send them to the book. I have copies here if you'd like to take one home. And this is kind of my main mission right now is getting out to talks like these that I can give wherever I travel and spread the word about this book and these 26 remarkable women who are doing so much to change the world and change our disease. So thank you so much for coming today. Thank you for sharing, for hosting us. We're so glad to be here. I'm so glad to meet you all. And if you ever come to Tucson, look me up. I got a great guest room, and I'll show you the enchanting desert.